They wanted to whip me in front of his eyes. Then the wolf broke his iron chain. The cold stones of the dungeon bit into Seraphine's back as she knelt, her wrists chained above her head. The torchlight flickered, throwing long, twisted shadows on the damp walls. Her eyes, sharp and green like the forest in spring, scanned the chamber. Every sound, the distant drip of water, the clinking of iron, the shuffle of footsteps, stirred both fear and defiance within her. She had been accused of forbidden magic. Some whispered she could speak to the winds, or summon creatures from the shadows. Others claimed she had caused the king's illness, though no one dared say it aloud. In truth, she had only ever sought knowledge, a deeper understanding of the world, of the life hidden behind the veil of normalcy. And now, that curiosity had brought her here. The heavy door creaked open, and a cold draft swept across the room. A guard appeared, his armor glinting in the torchlight. In his hands was a whip, coiled and cruel. "It is time," he said, his voice a mixture of duty and relish. Seraphine's heart thudded in her chest, but her chin lifted. She would not show fear, not now, not ever. The court would see her, and they would watch her shame. The thought made her stomach tighten, but there was a spark of stubbornness in her chest. She would face this with her head held high. From the shadows of the dungeon, a pair of golden eyes watched her. At first she thought it was the reflection of the torch, but the eyes moved, intelligent and alive. The chains rattled as a tall figure stepped forward, a man or something more. Kalen. Even in chains, he was impossible to ignore. His broad shoulders were tense, muscles straining against the iron that held him. His hair, dark as midnight, fell in loose waves across his forehead, partially hiding the scars etched across his face. Some said he was cursed, that a beast lived inside him, waiting for the moment to be unleashed. But his eyes, those golden, fierce eyes, looked at her not with hunger but with something far more dangerous, understanding. Seraphine felt a shiver travel down her spine. She did not know why, but something in Kalen's gaze drew her, a silent thread of connection that neither chains nor fear could break. The guard's grip tightened on the whip. "You will answer for your crimes," he said. "You will pay for daring to meddle in things beyond your station." Seraphine's voice was steady. "I have done nothing but seek knowledge. Is that a crime?" The guard's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, a low growl filled the room. It was not the growl of any ordinary man. It was deep, resonant, a sound that seemed to come from the very stones themselves. Kalen's chains rattled violently, sparks flying as iron resisted the force he summoned. "Stop!" the guard shouted, stepping back. But Kalen did not stop. With a roar that shook the dungeon, the iron chains broke, clattering to the ground. His body moved with a grace that was almost inhuman, yet terrifying. His eyes found Seraphine's, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. A bond forged in danger, in the thrill of survival, in the impossible. The guard fled, stumbling over the fallen chains, leaving Seraphine and Kalen alone. The man, or beast, approached her slowly, each step measured, controlled. His presence was overwhelming, filling the chamber like a storm about to break. "Are you hurt?" His voice was rough, yet gentle, as if he feared his own strength. "No," she said, though her knees were weak and her hands still bore the sting of the cold iron. You broke your chains." "How, why?" Kalen shook his head, as if the question itself was foolish. "I could not let them harm you," he said. "Not when I could stop it." Seraphine's heart quickened. "You don't even know me," she whispered. "I know enough," he replied, his golden eyes never leaving hers. "Enough to know you do not belong in chains." For a moment they simply stood there, two souls bound by a force neither fully understood. The dungeon, the fear, the accusations, all of it seemed distant, swallowed by the intensity of that shared glance. Then a sound outside the chamber drew their attention. More guards. They would not stop until they captured her, until they captured him. Kalen's jaw tightened. He looked at the broken chains around his wrists and then back at Seraphine. "We leave," he said. "Now, before they come back." Seraphine hesitated. The idea of running, of abandoning everything she had known, even in fear, was terrifying. Yet something in Kaelin's presence, something raw and wild, gave her courage she did not know she possessed. Together, they moved toward the hidden exit, a narrow passageway leading from the dungeon to the castle's outer walls. The shadows clung to them like living things, and the torchlight flickered with every step, casting strange shapes that seemed almost alive. Kaelin led the way, moving with a predatory grace. Seraphine followed, her heart pounding, matching his pace. Every step brought them closer to freedom, and yet closer to danger. The castle was no safe place for either of them, not now, not ever. As they reached the outer courtyard, the night air hit them like a wave. The moon hung low, a pale sentinel in the sky, illuminating the forest beyond. Freedom was just beyond the trees, but the path was fraught with peril. Guards patrolled the courtyard, torches swinging rhythmically, their shadows long and threatening. Kaelin's eyes scanned the courtyard, calculating precise. "We must move quickly," he said, voice low. "Do not falter, do not look back." Seraphine's hand brushed against his arm almost instinctively. She felt the warmth beneath his skin, the tension coiled in his muscles. "I won't," she said, though her voice betrayed the tremor in her chest. In the blink of an eye, Kaelin sprang forward, silent and deadly. Seraphine followed, heart hammering in rhythm with his movements. They slipped through the shadows, moving like ghosts among the torches, unseen and unstoppable. Yet as they neared the forest, a shout rang out. A guard had spotted them. The chase began. Kaelin turned his head briefly, eyes blazing, and whispered, "Run, Seraphine. Run for your life." She did not hesitate. Her legs carried her forward through the underbrush, the trees looming like silent sentinels. Behind her, Kaelin fought, his chains forgotten, his strength unleashed. The sounds of struggle, of shouted commands, echoed through the night, but she did not look back. Not yet. They reached a small clearing where the moonlight pooled like silver water. Kaelin emerged from the shadows, his form both human and something else, stronger, faster, almost wild. Seraphine stopped, breathless, her hands trembling. "You are safe," he said, though his voice was edged with worry. "For now." "For now?" she asked, fear and defiance mingling in her tone. "The world is not kind," he replied. "Not to you, not to me, but together perhaps we can survive." Seraphine looked at him, really looked, and saw the weight he carried. The chains he had broken, not just in iron but in his soul. She saw the beast within, tempered by honor, by a strange sense of justice, and by the longing that mirrored her own. And in that moment, something shifted. A bond, fragile yet undeniable, took root between them. Something dangerous, something beautiful. The night stretched on, silent except for their breathing and the distant rustle of leaves. Seraphine knew their journey was only beginning. The kingdom would hunt her, the curses would linger, and the shadows would always seek them. Yet for the first time in her life, she felt a strange, trembling hope. Kaelin's gaze met hers, golden eyes glowing in the moonlight. "Whatever comes," he said, "we face it together." Seraphine's heart tightened, and a soft, almost imperceptible smile curved her lips. "Together," she echoed. The forest around them seemed to lean closer, as if listening, as if waiting. And in the distance, a wolf's howl split the night, a herald, a warning, or perhaps a promise. Somewhere in the darkness, Seraphine felt it. The adventure, the danger, the possibility of love, and the unspoken truth that nothing would ever be the same again. The chains were broken, but the world outside was cruel. And yet, for the first time, she did not feel afraid. Because he was with her. And in the moonlight, in the cold forest, two unlikely hearts had begun a story that would echo through time, through fear, through love, and through the shadows that sought to claim them. The forest embraced them like a living thing. Trees stretched their twisted branches high into the night sky, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. The moonlight filtered through the canopy, painting the ground in silver and shadow. Every step Seraphine took sank slightly into the damp earth, and every rustle of leaves made her heart leap. Beside her, Kalen moved silently, his presence a constant reassurance. Though the forest was alive with hidden dangers, sharp roots, slippery moss, creatures of the night, he seemed untouchable, moving like a shadow that belonged there. His golden eyes glinted with a strange intensity, scanning their surroundings with a precision she had never seen in any human. "Stay close," he whispered, his voice low, a mix of warning and concern. "They will search for us." "I will," she said, adjusting the cloak around her shoulders. Her hand still trembled slightly from the dungeon, from the chains, and from the memory of Kalen breaking free. But the fear she felt now was different, sharper, alive, and oddly exciting. They had been running for hours, weaving through the dense underbrush, keeping to the shadows, avoiding the moonlight as best they could. The kingdom's soldiers would not stop until they found her, and Kalen had made it clear. If the soldiers captured her, he would not, let them harm her. As they paused near a small brook, Seraphine knelt to drink, the water cold and sweet against her lips. Kalen crouched beside her, watching the forest, every muscle coiled, ready to spring at the first sign of danger. "You have been hunted before," he said suddenly, breaking the tense silence. Seraphine froze, her hand still in the water. "How do you know?" Kalen's eyes softened just for a moment. "I can sense fear and strength. You have both." She looked up at him, unsure if she should be insulted or honored. "Strength?" she asked quietly. "Strength is not always visible," he said. "Sometimes it hides behind the most fragile things, like a whispered spell or a broken chain." Her heart skipped. The memory of his chains, shattered by his will, by his power, by something that seemed almost more than human, was still vivid. And yet, in that moment, she realized she was drawn not to his strength alone, but to the man beneath it, the one who had risked everything for her, without asking for anything in return. The forest deepened, growing darker and more mysterious as they moved forward. Strange sounds echoed through the trees. A distant howl, the snap of twigs, the soft rustle of unseen creatures. Seraphine's senses sharpened, every instinct alert, yet she found herself moving with a confidence she had not known before. Kalen's presence, his protective aura, made her feel capable, even alive. Hours passed, and exhaustion began to creep in. Kalen led them to a small clearing surrounded by ancient stones. The moss-covered rocks seemed to hum with energy, as if the forest itself had created a refuge for them. "We will rest here," Kalen said, "just for a short time. The forest is safe, but not forever." Seraphine settled on the ground, her back against one of the stones, and closed her eyes briefly. "I never thought I would be running through a forest at night with a man or a beast, or whatever you are," she admitted, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Kalen's gaze softened, but there was a tension in his jaw. "I am neither fully man nor fully beast," he said, "and yet I am both. I am danger and I am protector, and now I am yours to trust." The words sent a shiver down her spine. She had never known trust like this, a bond formed not by convenience or duty, but by necessity and something deeper, something unspoken. As night stretched on, the forest seemed to close in around them. Shadows danced unnaturally, and the wind carried whispers that sounded like voices, echoes of the past, perhaps, or warnings of what lay ahead. Seraphine shivered, though not from cold. She felt it, a subtle shift in the air, a presence watching them, testing them. Kalen noticed her unease. "Do not fear the shadows," he said softly. "They are part of this place as much as the trees and the stones. Some are harmless, some are not." "Are you one of the harmless ones?" she asked, a teasing note in her voice, though her heart raced. He allowed himself a small, wry smile. "I do my best." The forest's whispers grew louder, and Seraphine felt a tug in her chest, a strange pulse in the earth beneath them. She did not know why, but she sensed that something ancient, something powerful, waited nearby. Kalen seemed to feel it too. He stood abruptly, moving to the center of the clearing. His golden eyes scanned the shadows, his muscles tensing. "Something comes," he said. "Prepare yourself." Before she could ask, the shadows coalesced into shapes, figures that moved with unnatural grace. Spirits of the forest, guardians of the night. Seraphine could not tell, but their intent was clear. They were testing them, perhaps warning them, perhaps threatening them. Kalen stepped in front of her, his body coiled like a spring. The creatures paused, studying him, their eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. Seraphine's breath caught in her throat. She had never seen a man or a beast so commanding, so utterly alive, so dangerous. One of the figures, taller than the rest, stepped forward, its form shimmering like mist. "The path you walk is perilous," it said in a voice that was both everywhere and nowhere. "You carry a bond that must be tested. Only then will the curse reveal its truth." Seraphine's eyes widened. "Curse," she whispered. Kalen's jaw tightened. "The forest does not speak lightly," he said. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." The figures retreated into the shadows, leaving the clearing silent once more. Seraphine's heart raced, but she did not feel afraid. She felt alive, exhilarated, and strangely certain that Kalen would protect her. Hours passed in uneasy quiet. They huddled together for warmth, and Seraphine felt the steady beat of Kalen's heart against her back. Every moment spent near him strengthened the bond that had begun in the dungeon, a bond that was now tested by the forest, by shadows, by forces neither of them fully understood. As dawn approached, the forest began to change. Mist rose from the ground, curling around the trees, and a faint glow bathed the landscape in silver. Kalen led her to a small stream, its waters crystal clear. "Drink," he said. "The forest offers what you need if you are willing to accept it." Seraphine knelt, cupping the water in her hands. As she drank, she felt a warmth spread through her chest, a sense of clarity and purpose. She looked up at Kalen, and for the first time she allowed herself to hope. "You are not just a man," she said softly. "You are something more, something powerful." He shook his head. "Power can be a curse," he said, "and so can love. Yet here we are, both carrying burdens we did not choose, both bound by fate." Her hand brushed against his. A spark ran through her at the contact, and she realized that the connection they shared was not just survival, but something far deeper, far more dangerous in its intensity. Kalen's eyes softened. "Whatever comes," he said, "we face it together. And whatever the forest tests us with, we will not falter, not if we trust each other." The words lingered in the misty morning air. Seraphine felt the truth in them, felt the pulse of the forest beneath her feet, and understood that the path ahead would demand everything from them: courage, trust, and the willingness to embrace what they feared most in themselves. As they prepared to move deeper into the forest, a faint glow appeared in the distance. Seraphine felt a tug in her chest, a pull that was both terrifying and magnetic. Something awaited them, a secret buried in the heart of the forest, something ancient, something powerful. Kalen took her hand, holding it tightly. "Whatever waits," he said, his voice steady, "we face it as one." Seraphine nodded, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. Together they stepped forward into the unknown, into shadows, into the promise of danger and discovery. And somewhere in the forest the wind carried a whisper, soft and mournful. "The bond is formed, but the curse awakens." Neither of them spoke, but both understood. Their journey had only begun, and the forest, with all its shadows and mysteries, would demand their courage, their loyalty, and their hearts. And for the first time, Seraphine felt the wild, untamed thrill of a life lived on the edge of fear and desire, a life bound to the golden-eyed wolf who had saved her. The forest thinned as Seraphine and Kalen moved deeper into the kingdom's forgotten lands. Mist clung to their feet, curling like spirits rising from the earth, and the air was thick with an ancient energy that prickled their skin. Ahead, the ruins of a palace loomed, half swallowed by ivy and shadow. Its broken towers reached for the sky like the fingers of ghosts, and the shattered windows reflected the moonlight in shards of silver. "This place," Seraphine whispered, awe and unease mingling in her voice. "It feels alive." Kalen's golden eyes scanned the palace from the edge of the clearing. "It is alive," he said, his voice low, cautious. "The Palace of Mirrors does not forget. It does not forgive. Whatever enters is tested, and not all leave unchanged." Seraphine's heart quickened. She had survived dungeons, chains, and forests filled with shadows, but the palace before them seemed to hum with an awareness she could not name. The air itself seemed to hold a pulse, a rhythm that matched her own racing heart. "Then we must be careful," she said, straightening her back. "We cannot let it control us." Kalen nodded. His hand brushed hers briefly, a silent reassurance, and Seraphine felt a warmth spread through her. Despite the fear, despite the unknown, she knew she could trust him. Together they stepped through the palace gates, the stone cold beneath their fingers as they pushed the massive doors open. Inside, the palace was a labyrinth of mirrors. Some were tall as towers, others small as hand mirrors, but all reflected not just their images, but glimpses of possibilities, fears, and truths. The floor shone with polished marble, but in the reflections, cracks appeared that were not in reality. Shadows moved where no shadows should be. The air smelled of old magic, sharp, sweet, and haunting. Kalen moved ahead, silent and alert. Seraphine followed, her eyes darting from mirror to mirror. At first, the reflections seemed harmless. But as they went deeper, the mirrors began to shift. She saw herself as she had never been, strong, confident, and powerful, but also alone, fearful, and vulnerable. Kalen noticed her hesitation. "Do not trust everything you see," he warned. "The mirrors reveal truths, yes, but they also lie. They test you and me." Seraphine swallowed hard. "Test us." "Yes," Kalen said, his gaze fixed on a distant mirror, "to see if we can face ourselves and each other." The first mirror they approached shimmered, and Seraphine's reflection stepped forward before she did. In the glass, she saw Kalen, but not as he was. His eyes glowed brighter, his fangs slightly bared, his body tense with anger and hunger. It was a version of him she had feared, yet could not turn away from. "What is this?" she whispered. Kalen's jaw tightened. "It shows what I could become if I fail to control the beast within, if I lose myself, if I lose you." Seraphine's heart ached at the words. She had seen the chains break, the raw power, the golden eyes that could pierce through darkness. And now she saw what could happen if that power were uncontrolled. Her hand brushed his and he stiffened but did not pull away. "You are not a monster," she said softly. "Not to me, not if you fight." He looked at her then, really looked, and in that moment she saw vulnerability, fear, doubt, and longing. "Even so," he said, voice barely above a whisper, "the mirrors show what may come, not what is, and what may come is terrifying." They moved further into the palace. Each room brought a new challenge. Mirrors reflected their deepest fears: failure, loss, betrayal. Some distorted their appearances, making Seraphine seem older, frailer, or twisted by magic. Kalen saw versions of himself consumed by the beast, surrounded by shadows of those he could not protect. Yet in each reflection, something else appeared: glimpses of hope, moments of courage, and the bond between them. Each trial strengthened them, forced them to confront not just themselves, but the feelings growing quietly, insistently between them. At the center of the palace, they found the largest mirror. Its surface was smooth and black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Seraphine felt a pull toward it, a strange mixture of fear and fascination. Kalen stepped beside her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "This is the heart of the palace," he said. "Whatever is in this mirror is the truth of us." Seraphine's breath caught. She looked into the black glass and the reflection slowly formed. She saw herself, standing alone in a void. Then Kalen appeared beside her, but his face was shadowed, half beast, half man, his golden eyes glowing with intensity. The reflection shifted, showing them together yet apart, reaching for each other but unable to touch. "It's showing us," she whispered. "Our bond, our fears, what we could lose." Kalen's hand found hers. The warmth of his fingers grounded her, reminded her that even in the face of the palace's illusions, their connection was real. "We cannot let fear rule us," he said. "We must trust ourselves and each other." Suddenly, the mirror rippled like water disturbed by a stone. A voice echoed through the room, soft and melodic, yet filled with authority. "One of you must choose to sacrifice, to give, to face the darkness alone if the bond is to survive." Seraphine's heart raced. "Sacrifice? What do you mean?" Kalen's eyes darkened. "The palace tests not just power but will, trust, and love. One of us may have to face the curse alone to save the other." Her mind spun. She thought of the dungeon, of the chains, of the forest, and of Kalen's golden eyes that had saved her. The thought of losing him was unbearable, yet she felt the weight of the choice pressing down. We will face it together," she said, though uncertainty trembled in her voice. The mirror shivered and the black surface began to swirl like storm clouds. Images flashed, the dungeon chains snapping, the forest shadows, the hunts of the soldiers, and then a future neither of them had dared imagine: destruction, loss, and loneliness. Kalen's grip on her hand tightened. "Whatever comes," he said, "we will not falter. Not as long as we hold to this bond." The swirling mirror formed another shape, a figure cloaked in silver light, neither fully human nor fully spirit. It spoke. "Only one may pass unscathed. The other must face the truth of the curse. Only the choice of the willing will end the test." Seraphine felt her chest tighten. She did not understand the curse fully, only that it was ancient, powerful, and tied to Kalen's existence. And yet in the depths of her fear, she realized something vital. It was not strength alone that would save them, but love, trust, and the courage to face the unknown together. Kalen looked into her eyes, searching for the answer he already hoped she would give. You must not be afraid," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "I will face whatever comes, but I cannot lose you." Her own voice shook, but she held his gaze. "And I will face it too. Whatever the palace asks, whatever the curse demands, I choose you." The mirror pulsed with light, then shattered silently, as if acknowledging their resolve. Reflections of fear and doubt scattered across the room, leaving only the soft glow of morning filtering through the broken windows. Breathing heavily, Seraphine leaned against Kalen. "We survived," she whispered, though neither fully believed it. They had survived, but the test was not over. The curse, the kingdom, and the shadows of the past would follow them. Kalen rested his forehead against hers, golden eyes soft and warm. "Together," he said. "Yes," she replied, "together." They left the palace of mirrors, stepping into the first light of dawn. The forest around them seemed to sigh in relief, as if recognizing their strength, their bond, and the promise they had made to each other. Yet the forest still held secrets, still whispered warnings. Seraphine could feel the pulse of the curse, faint but persistent, threading through the trees and stones. Whatever lay ahead, they knew one truth: their bond was now unbreakable. And whatever sacrifice might come, they would face it as one. As they moved deeper into the unknown, a soft howl echoed through the trees, distant yet familiar. It was not just the wolf in Kalen, nor the forest speaking. It was the call of destiny, of challenge, and of the trials yet to come. Seraphine shivered, but not from fear. This time it was excitement, determination, and the strange thrill of knowing that the next part of their journey, through shadow, curse, and unknown danger, would test not only their courage but their hearts. And somewhere in the distance, the Palace of Mirrors watched, patient, waiting for the next step, the next choice, the next challenge that would shape the fate of the golden-eyed wolf and the woman who had dared to trust him. The cliff rose from the forest like a silver sentinel, jagged and powerful, overlooking the kingdom they had left behind. The wind whipped around them, carrying the scent of the sea and the forest below. Mist curled around their feet, and the moon hung low in the sky, casting a pale glow over the jagged rocks. Kalen stood at the edge, the golden glow of his eyes reflecting the moonlight. His chest rose and fell with slow, controlled breaths, but the tension in his shoulders was undeniable. The curse, the trials, the mirrors, they had all led to this moment. One final choice, one final sacrifice awaited them. Seraphine approached, her hand brushing against his. She could feel the warmth beneath his skin, the raw power coiled in him, the strength that had broken chains, faced shadows, and survived the palace of mirrors. Yet now, that power trembled with uncertainty, with fear, and with hope. "Whatever comes," Kalen said, his voice low and steady, "we face it together, but I cannot hide what the curse demands. One of us must confront it fully, or it will consume us both." Seraphine's heart tightened. She had seen glimpses of the curse in the palace, felt its pull in the forest, and understood that it was ancient, relentless, and tied to Kaelin's very being. But she also knew that love, trust, and courage could bend even the harshest fate. "We face it together," she whispered, stepping closer. Her hand found his, intertwining fingers holding tight. "I will not leave you. I will not run. Whatever the curse demands, we do it together." Kaelin's gaze softened. "You are braver than I imagined," he said. "And yet I fear the beast within me." "You are not the beast," she said firmly. "You are the man I know, the one who saved me, who risked everything for me. That is the man I trust." For a moment the wind stilled, as if the world itself listened. The cliff seemed to hold its breath. Then the mist thickened, swirling into shapes that rose from the earth, forms of shadow and light, echoing the trials of the palace, the whispers of the forest, and the memories of chains and mirrors. The curse had awakened. A voice, neither male nor female, neither young nor old, echoed across the cliff. "One must give fully, or both are lost. Only the bond of courage and love may end the trial." Kaelin tightened his grip on Seraphine's hand. "We have come this far. Together we can face it. But the choice may demand more than we imagine." The mist formed a vortex, spinning faster and faster. Within it, Seraphine glimpsed visions. Kaelin chained, struggling against the beast, the kingdom burning in shadows, herself lost, alone, calling for him. Fear clawed at her chest, but she forced it down, focusing instead on the bond that had carried them through every trial so far. "I will not let you face it alone," she said firmly. "We made it this far because we trusted each other. We survive together, or we do not survive at all." Kaelin's eyes glowed brighter, the beast within stirring, restless and hungry. He shook his head, voice low, almost a growl. "If I fail, it will destroy you too. You cannot face what I carry inside me." "Then I will face it with you," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "I am not afraid of the truth. I am not afraid of you." The mist condensed into a single, towering figure, a guardian of the curse, shining with silver light yet shadowed in dark energy. Its eyes locked onto them as though reading the deepest corners of their souls. "The choice must be made," it intoned. "The bond must prove itself. One will surrender fully and the other will be freed." Seraphine's pulse raced. She glanced at Kaelin, saw the strain on his face, the golden eyes flickering between man and beast, and realized the truth. He had already prepared to sacrifice himself for her. Her chest tightened, and for a heartbeat she considered stepping back, letting him take the burden alone. But the thought of losing him, of seeing the man she had come to trust and love consumed by the curse, was unbearable. "No," she said, gripping his hands firmly. "Not alone. We do this together. If one must surrender, we surrender together. I will not let you bear this by yourself." Kaelin's golden eyes softened, reflecting awe and love. "You are extraordinary," he whispered. I did not expect this. I did not expect someone to stand with me fully." The guardian tilted its head, as if evaluating her words. "So be it," it said. "Then the trial begins." The mist spiraled around them, lifting them off the cliff slightly, as if the world itself carried them into a realm between reality and shadow. They were surrounded by visions. The dungeon chains, the palace of mirrors, the forest, the soldiers, pursuit, and countless other trials they had faced. Each memory pushed them to the edge, tested their fears, their courage, and their bond. Kalen's claws, half man, half beast, shimmered in the moonlight. The beast within roared, demanding release, yet he held himself steady. Seraphine reached for him, placing her hands on his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart. "I am here," she whispered. "Do not let the fear control you. Trust me, trust us." The golden eyes met hers, and in that gaze, Kalen saw a reflection of his own strength, tempered by love and trust. The roar of the beast subsided slightly, replaced by focus and determination. Together, they stepped into the heart of the swirling mist. The guardian raised its arms, and the air pulsed with energy. A light brighter than the moon enveloped them, yet instead of burning, it warmed. Seraphine could feel the curse pressing against them, probing for weakness, seeking to separate them. But their hands remained clasped, their hearts aligned. And slowly the curse began to falter. Shadows recoiled, light spread, and the mist thinned. Kalen's voice broke through, strong and commanding. "I choose us," he said. "Not the beast, not fear, not darkness. I choose the bond that brought me back from chains, that taught me to trust, that showed me love." Seraphine's voice followed. "I choose us. Not the shadows, not the unknown, not the fear. I choose the life we fight for together." The guardian's light flared, and for a heartbeat, everything was suspended. Then a wave of warmth washed over them, the shadows dissolving into the mist, the curse's weight lifting, leaving only clarity and freedom. Kalen collapsed to his knees, breathing heavily, but the beast within had receded. The golden glow of his eyes softened, returning fully to the man she had come to know and trust. Seraphine knelt beside him, placing a hand on his cheek. "You did it," she whispered, relief and awe mixing in her voice. "We did it." Kalen's lips curved into a faint, weary smile. "We did together," he said. He pulled her close, not just in relief, but in the unspoken understanding that their bond had been tested, tried, and tempered like steel. The mist parted, revealing the cliff and the world below. The kingdom stretched out, still dangerous, still unyielding, but for the first time, Seraphine and Kalen felt a sense of possibility, of freedom, of hope. "We cannot return," Kalen said quietly, his gaze distant. "The kingdom, it will never forgive what we are, what we have done." Seraphine rested her forehead against his shoulder. "Then we do not need their forgiveness. We have each other. That is enough." For a long moment they simply sat there, the wind whispering around them, the moonlight casting a silver glow over the cliff, the forest, and the distant kingdom. The curse was broken, the trials behind them, and yet the future remained unknown. Kalen spoke again softly. "I have lived centuries in chains of shadow and curse, but with you I have felt life. I have felt hope. I have felt love. And that is the greatest freedom of all." Seraphine smiled, a tear sliding down her cheek. "Then we walk forward," she said. "Together, no chains, no shadows, no fear, just us." The wolf within him stirred briefly, a reminder of the power that still lay dormant, but Kalen tamed it with ease, his hand brushing hers, fingers entwined. They stood together on the cliff, overlooking the world they had left behind, a silent promise forming between them. The moonlight shone on them, golden eyes meeting green. The forest below whispered legends, the cliffs echoed their courage, and somewhere far away, the kingdom murmured their names in fear and wonder. But for Seraphine and Kalen there was only the moment, the freedom, the trust, the love that had endured chains, shadows, and curses. They had faced the impossible, and in doing so, they had found redemption, not just in breaking the curse, but in breaking the fear that had bound their hearts. And as the wind howled around them, carrying whispers of the forest, the cliff, and the distant kingdom, they stepped forward together into the unknown. For love had triumphed, for courage had been proven. And for the golden-eyed wolf and the woman who had dared to trust him, the world, wild, mysterious, and beautiful, was theirs to explore.